Hello everyone and welcome to the launch of the e-commerce Edge report. I'm really excited today. It's taken about 6 months from starting the idea to actually getting it finished. So it's thrilling for me and also to be joined by 3 great guest contributors. I've got Anna Wally, Tony Berry and Carolina Dibb, and they'll be introducing themselves a little bit later. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk you through the report, talk about how it was produced, give you a taste of the report using the experts, talk about the implementation webinars we've got planned, and then also, if you want to stay to the end, we've got a bit of a bonus for you. I'm just going to share the little PowerPoint screen so you can see what the talk is about. There we go, so that's how it looks. And starting with the report, the real benefits of the report, it's really given some practical insights for today's toughest challenges. You've got expert advice in the report from 21 top industry leaders. It's fast to read, digestible, reader friendly. It's got a lot of forward-looking strategies for tomorrow's changes. The first thing to know is really how to get the report. You can either do it through the bit.ly link or go on to delloinsights.com, my website, then access it then. If you want to digest the report, you'll also see on my website we've got a smaller report, which is 7 pages, which has got the tips and the summaries in it, and it's also got the webinar dates, or you might want to just go straight to the tips, look at the experts, pick a section, or you might be the kind of person that likes to read it page by page. So a little bit about how the report was produced. So I really got the idea. I was out a lot last year at events and there are lots of different data experts sharing new knowledge about how they're using data and insights to help a business. But as I spoke to the e-commerce businesses I was working with and talking to, they knew a lot of knowledge was out there, they wanted to embrace it, but they lacked clarity and thought, I don't know which strategy is going to work for me, how do I implement it, what should I do? And with the sea of change that's coming all the time and AI really appearing, it's very hard to make the right decision. So I kind of thought there's a way I can bring this knowledge together. So I spoke to 21 different experts and asked them to share the data-led insight they discovered last year that they're using to drive growth and performance this year. I did this using Riverside through calls and I ended up with 30,000 words and 7 hours of recordings. I translated that into a 36-page report, which is really what this report is, how to thrive in 2025, and I've also got a tips and a webinar summary for you. And here I put a link, there's a video which I made 3 minutes telling you the story behind the report. This is the first report I've done, so I had various little mishaps along the way in it and funny things that happened, so I really wanted to share that with everybody. So we're going to move now on to a taste report. I'd really like to welcome Anna Wally, Carolina Dibb and Tony. I'm going to stop sharing now while we talk to them. So, would you like to introduce yourselves? I'll go alphabetically. Anna first of all.
Oh, it's a win for me going first. I just wanted to say thanks for including me on your project. It's been really interesting for me to hear about what everyone else has found interesting over the year as well. So just wanted to say thanks.
Welcome.
So my tip really is about how you use the data.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Anna. So I would say be product led. I mean, I love data, but really I believe that product should remain at the forefront. Be product led. Know where you're going to take your business and where you want to go with your product, and use data to drive the decisions. Empower your team to act on those decisions, and then make sure that it is aligning with where you want to go, and you're able to put in actions based on those decisions. So it's really important. But yeah, tying it back to the product with that data, I would say is
You've got a bit of background noise. I don't know which one this is. It's gone now. No, it's still there. It's gone again. Thank you, Anna. That's great. So you come from a merchandising background, don't you?
I do, yeah. So yeah, merchandising background, and I help businesses with their merchandising teams to enable them to build growth. So yeah, that's
fabulous.
Anyone wants to reach out to me afterwards, that's great.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that one. Carolina, you go next and tell us about your tip and why it's so important.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Carolina. I'm a conversion rate optimization specialist. So I've been in retail in various roles across marketing and customer experience for the best part of 20 years. Most recently at Amazon, where I worked for 8 years before starting my consultancy last year. And my tip was around the importance of visual evaluation. So a couple of stats that I really love and kind of always come back to being, firstly, that we have kind of 0.05 seconds to capture a website user's attention before they decide whether to stay on the site or bounce off. And also our brains process images 60,000 times faster than text. So those two insights together always strike me as really crucial while we're thinking about more visual ways to communicate key brand and product information on a website. And I think, so that was the crux of my tip, but it was all, I think, to kind of actually implement it, the most important thing is kind of understanding currently how users are navigating through your website. Where are they finding friction? Where are they, bouncing off the site, or potentially facing barriers to conversion? And once you can understand that user journey, then you can start to think about, optimizing it and implementing, loads of different enhancements across the board, visual evaluation being one of those.
That's amazing. Thank you ever so much, Carolina. And you, Tony? Go on, introduce yourself, Tony, and tell us your tip.
So I'm Tony Berry. I am founder and CEO of Payment Guru. So we work as a payment consultancy and brokerage. So slightly different angle probably to most of your other experts, in that we work in any different industry, both in the retail as well as the e-commerce space. So my tip was to try and understand your full customer flow. So if you've got a client who's reaching out to you in a retail store, so the bricks and mortar, as well as in the online world, is to try and understand that customer and that customer's journey. And why it's so important is basically, if you don't understand your customers, you're never going to either retain them or get any more. So trying to understand their demographics, their behaviours, their spending habits, it means you can target them, market them, both the existing clients to retain and obviously to grow. So understanding your audience, I think for any business is absolutely critical.
That's fantastic. And I think that's what I loved about the report, that the people who gave me the tips came from such different places, different ways of working, different angles of looking at things. Do you, Anna, in your work, do you also come across the bricks and mortar stores as well? Or are you just merchandising from online? So?
No, absolutely. The bricks and mortar online, and the fundamentals are still there. What is driving your sales, but really fundamentally what is driving your profit, and using that data to get insights into what it is that's driving it. I think it's really interesting. So many businesses where the bricks and mortar or e-commerce have data, but don't necessarily know how to use it. And like the three of us on here are using it in different ways, but it's all there, and it's all able to enrich the journey and enrich the profit, frankly, which is what the business is trying to do. So yeah, it's really interesting.
It is, because I know a lot of stores, I think, well, if I get this loyalty card scheme, then get the e-commerce part of it and get them in with on view, whereas you start the other way, don't you, Tony? You always look at the payments. You take their payments and you're tracking them across. So it's just the opposite way that I was thinking about things, and when you said that to me, actually that really trigged something in my mind. I thought, I've never thought of it that way. I think that was what was really interesting for me, is that I kind of know my area, I know skills, but there's so many different skills on offer as well, different perspectives. Were there any perspectives in the report, Carolina, that kind of made you think of things in a different way?
Yeah, I mean, the AI stuff I found really interesting, but for me the biggest takeaway was how many of the experts talked about data as a kind of underutilised or kind of partly used resource, and I think that was really great to see that coming through, because it's certainly something I've experienced a lot. And I think it comes, and this is like businesses of all sizes, as you said, all the experts are from different kind of areas and focusing on different sizes of business, types of business, and we're all kind of or a lot of us are seeing that same trend of kind of underutilization of data. And I think it comes from either a time poor place where founders of businesses just don't have the time and the teams to dive in, or at the other end of the scale, I think there's so much data now that it can feel really overwhelming. So it's like, it's not accessing the data that's the issue, it's just knowing how to draw the actionable insights from it. And I think that's got to be the starting place for all these different optimizations in the different areas that we're working in. It was just really interesting to see that's being experienced a lot by a lot of the experts in the report.
Thank you, I'm really glad you said that. So I'm a data person, so I was kind of biasing my report towards data, but actually all these different people who don't necessarily think that data is driving it, but then they realise how much data is at the heart, was really interesting. Then I did send it out to various people for review. One of them said, actually, people don't even think about the data, they think about the products, they think about the stock, they think about the marketing. They don't really realise it's actually a data strategy that's sitting underneath it. So it's not a case of not having a data strategy, it's not even having that awareness of a data strategy being there in the first place. And that for me was like a fascinating thing. Because I think I come from this view where I've used data so much and I'm so comfortable with it. And so the concept that people aren't really aware they've got this data strategy that they're using is quite eye-opening.
Yeah, I think you had a stat in the report about only 13% of businesses are using their strategy effectively. But then I think, when you think about it from a data perspective, it's probably even smaller because, you've got to have the data to get to a strategy. And then if only 13% are using the strategy, they haven't kind of, even less people have got to the data point. So it's definitely a big opportunity for e-commerce businesses now.
Do you think it's changing over time? I mean, so I know obviously data is more. What do you think, Tony? Do you kind of see more and more people, they're kind of where the data's there, they're trying to really get their hands on it?
I think I'd very much echo Carolina there, which is a lot of them realise they've got the data and they're just sitting on it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I hear it time and time again at conferences as well. They've got the data, but they just seriously don't have a clue what to do. Hence why AI could be interesting, but again, it seems a bit embryonic. There's a lot of people saying AI is the future, but then maybe haven't got the actual solution. They just feel they've got it. They're not necessarily using it quite correctly. But again, unless the data sources are actually interlinked, it's almost irrelevant. You can have amazing data, but if it's totally siloed, it makes very, very little odds.
Yes,
but yeah, for my customers, they definitely don't use it enough.
No.
We're a highly commoditized. People just think it's a payment, but actually, similar to Carolina, what you do as a day job, if the conversion rates aren't working, and if the payment system is creating a 1% abandonment, that's a huge impact. But again, it's often finance looking at payments, the marketing team are looking at this bit, and the e-commerce team are looking at something else, and it's trying to get them all to actually sit in a room and understand where the data is critical.
That was interesting about Anna, because in your merchandising world you're solving almost a smaller problem, aren't you? It's one part of the big picture, and you're saying that, I know you said in your tips and we had our conversation that these new solutions are coming on board and they really are solving some of these problems, but it still relies on the business understanding it, implementing it correctly, monitoring it, and that part is often what's missed, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's about that whole holistic approach and working together across the business. It can't be, you mentioned the word silo, Tony, it absolutely can't be this team does this. It needs to come together and all be as one. But I do think there's a lot of solutions that do churn through that data now. So it's about finding one that will suit you and having a look at it, because you can't be sitting there sifting through the data. There's no reason to do that anymore. You could frankly just dump it in ChatGPT and ask a question if you wanted to do something ad hoc. There's no excuse not to use it. And if you are unsure how to use it, find someone to help you, because it's so rich in so many ways. And there's 3 different examples here. We're looking at profit, you're looking at payments, you're looking at conversion there. There's so much you can get out of it to drive the business forward. So I really strongly believe that you can just work together and get through that data. It's there. Just it's a resource you own in your business. Like you own the stock. You're looking at cash flow. You should be using it. It can give you so much.
This takes me on so nicely to actually the implementation webinars. So I'm just going to briefly show you some feedback. I got this lovely feedback on the report, so I'm going to whip to that.
Congratulations on the report, Lucia. It's amazing.
Thank you. So this was someone called Bojo. So when the report was ready, I then, before I did the big launch, sent it out to various people and said, what do you think? What should I improve on? How can I do it? And I got this amazing feedback from them saying, it's a really strong lineup of contributors, and they love the balance between the data insights and practical actionable advice. They like the focus on the strategic decision-making, profitability, and then some few standout sections for them. Basically, they thought it was really valuable for emerging and established e-commerce brands. So, and they actually had these things. So I think everybody's given me feedback to put different things, different angles, and what they've really resonated. But I hope, though, that the report is actually doing what I want it to do, which is really, really to show, that the value is there in the data. We can actually ignore the trends in a way and just get back to, the real themes behind it. So skipping back to the webinars, so I think the conversation we've just had, although these tips are lovely, it's really nice to see a nice tip, but then I thought the next stage really is actually thinking, how can we implement these tips in the business? Because you can read a beautiful tip in one place, but then you might not know where to start. You don't necessarily know if it's the right tip for you, how you're going to do it. So I really wanted then to follow up with these tips. And so what I've done is I've devised a series of webinars. So there's 4 different themes in the report, and I've really gone into the themes in the report and put a couple of experts per session together. And we're really going to dig down, talk about the tip, and talk about what steps you might need to move into the business. Is there anything you need to set up before you do it? How long might it take? What kind of cost do you need? What resources? How are you going to monitor it once it goes in? How do you know if it's a success? So I really want to then dig into actually your brain power again, get them all online. So these will be recorded and put online. The dates are coming out at the moment. I've got the dates in the back of this report. I really just talk about how to implement it. So I'm really glad that so many of you who've done the research with me are going to join that. So I'm just going to share these quick little thing about when they're happening. So I just talked about that. So there's a link there, which again I'll share. This video is going to go on my website. And so the launch was today. We've got strategic decision making. And again, this is really about the fact it's so easy to get lost in the endless data and distractions, but you need the clarity. So this is about taking your decisions from the strategic, onto the strategic away from the operational. Marketing and advertising effectiveness. Again, trying to boost your effectiveness. And as ad costs are rising and returns are shrinking, it's more and more critical than ever. So we've got all the different ways to do that. Added an extra webinar on the 9th of July. All these webinars, they start at 10:30, by the way, take about 30 minutes. They're running in May, June and July. This is extra one is actually going to be at a funny time, 10:30, not 12:30. Then I'm going to talk about smart AI and automation. That's going to be on the 2nd and 16th of July. And then boosting conversion retention rates. And that's 2 running in May and 1's running in July. So that's all about the webinars. So thank you everybody much for joining us. And a free bonus for you if you want to run into the end of May. If you want a free 45-minute call with me, I can focus on any data or insight issue in your business. It might be signposting you on to some of the experts, or it might be something I can help you with directly. But if you want it, message me on LinkedIn. Thank you everybody ever so much for joining me. Thank you, Anna, Tony and Carolina.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Lucia. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, really amazing.
Thank you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.